There we go. Hello, and welcome to Verbling. I'm teacher Oakley. And for the next hour, we are going to be looking at primarily time clauses, using time subordinators to create dependent clauses in order to create complex sentences. We're going to look at how these time words and time phrases work as subordinators to create sentences and the verb tenses that we have to use. As we go along, I'll be explaining these things, and students will have an opportunity to form their own sentences in order to kind of check the understanding. If we have time, we'll run into some other typical time phrases. All right, let me start out by welcoming students to the class. Hello, Ramon.
Hello, Oakley. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Thank you very much. Welcome. And hello, Mustafa.
Hello, teacher. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Also, I'd like to welcome Tala. Is that right?
Hello, teacher.
Hi. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Tala?
Talha. Yeah, Talha.
Talha. Talha. Okay, great. Where are you from, Talha?
I'm from Turkey, in Istanbul.
Oh, okay, great. Welcome to the class, Talha.
Okay.
Okay, and I would also like to welcome Frank. Hey there, Frank. Welcome back.
I'm doing well, same as ever.
Same as ever? Okay. Good for you. Okay. Any viewers out there in Verbling land, come on in and join us. Plenty of room in the class. Okay, we're going to get started after I quickly welcome Carlos. Hey, welcome back, Carlos.
Hi, teacher. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I think.
Okay.
I think I'm doing okay.
What happened?
Nothing. I overslept a little, so I'm waiting for the coffee to kick in. Nothing happened. I'm fine. Okay.
What time is in now?
It's where I am. It's 10 in the morning, but I was
okay.
I was preparing class material until about 4 in the morning, so it was a late night.
Okay.
Okay. I also want to welcome Heidi. Hello, Heidi.
Hello. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you too. As always, welcome to the class.
Thank you.
And also, we've been joined by Beatrice.
Hi, teacher.
Hi. Am I pronouncing your name correctly, Beatrice?
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much. Where are you from, Beatrice?
I'm from Brazil.
Ah, okay. Terrific. All right, we've got students from everywhere. Just the way we like it here on Verbling. Mustafa, yeah.
Teacher, just a quick note. You just mentioned like drinking coffee. I just want to tell you, like I have read recently that drinking coffee when you just start up your day is not good for you because there is like a hormone. That hormone goes naturally and it is effective early when you are wake up. This hormone is effective. So when you drink coffee, your body will depend on caffeine and leave this hormone. So after maybe 2 days or maybe 2 weeks, something like that, after a period of time, your body will depend on caffeine, just caffeine, and this is good. You'll be addicted with caffeine, and it's not good. So the study like advise us to drink coffee maybe after 15 minutes or 1.5 hours after we wake up.
Okay. Well, if your body grows dependent on caffeine after a few days or 2 weeks, then I'm done for, Mustafa, because it's been 35 years that I drink coffee first thing in the morning. It's far too late for me. It's hopeless. But thank you for sharing. That's interesting, actually. All right. Anyway, okay, looks like we filled up, so let me welcome the last couple of students. Hello, Arlette. Hi, Arlette. How are you today? And goodbye, Arlette. Come on back. Hurry up. Try to get in the class because I think we're almost full. Philip, good morning. Good evening. Sorry.
Good evening, teacher.
How are you?
I'm fine, teacher. How are you? How are you?
I'm doing okay, actually.
Okay.
I'm doing all right. Okay. Okay. Let's do this thing. All right. I'm going to do a screen share here, or we'll get started. Looking at time clauses. Okay. Let's have a look here. We're starting off with time clauses. Clauses, of course, sentences. An independent clause is a simple sentence. A simple sentence is an independent clause. It consists of at least a subject, noun, and a verb, and it makes sense. It is a complete thought in and of itself, all by itself. It makes sense. So that's an independent clause. When we use a subordinating conjunction like after, or even a phrasal conjunction like as soon as, before, since, until, when, while, these types of words and or phrases, to introduce a clause, or actually an independent...
J'appelle le téléphone avant de partir.
Philip?
Le téléphone.
Yeah. Philip, do you want me to get the telephone? Oops. Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. No problem. No problem. Anyway, okay. When we introduce one of these conjunctions or phrases to an independent clause, we must conjoin it with another fully independent clause in order to create a sentence. Okay, so then we have a sentence with two clauses, an independent clause, simple sentence, plus a subordinate clause or dependent clause. Same thing. Subordinate clause, dependent clause mean the same thing. What we're talking about here is that subordinate clause. Again, the subordinate clause is introduced with a subordinating conjunction, which is what our focus is on. Actually, we're going to look at these subordinating conjunctions and how they function, what they mean, and how to use them in a sentence. They are used, specifically, we are looking at time subordinating conjunctions. When we want to say something about when. Okay, so, well, I guess if we're talking about those, we want to say something about when, the obvious one to start with is, when. Okay, what does when mean? It means at the time. Okay. So, for example, he was 9 when his father died. This is actually two separate clauses. He was 9 is one, and that is an independent clause. It could be a sentence by itself. He was 9. There's a subject noun, he, and a verb was, and it makes sense. And then notice his father died. That could also be an independent clause. We make it a dependent clause by prefacing it, putting a subordinating conjunction in front. So there you go, very basic. He was 9 when, or at the time his father died. Okay, when, as, and while can be used for two events happening at the same time, with the meaning during the time, or, well, at the same time, actually. Okay, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's take this step by step here. Okay. Oh shoot, I can't. Oops, I didn't give myself edit power. Oopsie. Or did I? No. Oops. Okay. He was. Can you? Okay. As we go along, I'm going to introduce different subordinators, and I'll have you guys give me a sentence. I forgot to give myself edit power, so I can't share it on the screen, but I'll go ahead and do it in the Verbling chat box. So, very simple. Ramon, can you just give me a sentence, whatever you want, with using when?
When do you normally get up?
No, that is it. Okay. All right. Well, okay. That's great. That's why we do this, is so we can make learning points. That is using when as an interrogative or question word. Who, what, where, when, why. Okay. So when has other functions, and actually we will definitely be running into this over and over again in today's lesson. We need to talk about that. Many of these subordinating conjunctions can be something else grammatically. That's an interrogative. So I'm talking about using when as a subordinator with two different clauses.
Okay, something like, I was sleeping when they called me.
That's great. That's a very good example. Okay, and I'm typing it into the Verbling chat box. I was sleeping when they called me. Yes, and this is a very common construction in English, showing something that was happening in duration over a period of time, and then an interrupting action introduced by when. They called me at the time they called me. This is probably the most common use of when as a subordinator. This is really, really common. Okay. Everyone will get a chance, but there's a lot of different subordinators, so I'm just going to go one at a time here and go around as we look at each one or each aspect. Okay, I got ahead of myself earlier. When, as, and while can be used for two events at the same time. For example, the earthquake occurred when they were sleeping, as they were sleeping, while they were sleeping. Now, I do want to say one thing. While is usually used to introduce a continuous tense, although you can do it with when if you're showing that the two things happening at the same time, it is possible. But frankly, if I was going to construct this sentence with when, I would do it another way. I would say, when the earthquake occurred, they were sleeping. I wouldn't put it in front of the continuous verb. Frankly, because it makes more sense, being that when means at the time, and while always means during the time. So it's just easier to understand. Also, since I mentioned it, notice that these subordinate clauses, even our first example, he was 9 when his father died, you can always, in English, it's perfectly acceptable, normal, to put the subordinate clause first or second. I can equally say, when his father died, he was 9. I can equally say, they were sleeping when the earthquake occurred. When the earthquake occurred, they were sleeping. It doesn't matter. The only difference is, when you have the subordinate clause first, you need a comma to separate the two clauses. When the subordinate clause comes second, as in our examples you can see here, no comma. Comma is not necessary. Okay, let's talk about two things happening at the same time. Mustafa, pick one. I don't really care. When, as, or while. Create me a sentence that to show that two events happening at the same time.
Okay. What's the point? I can use while, right? Okay.
Sure.
Okay. I was playing while my brother was reading book, for example.
Okay. That's very good. You missed one little thing. You missed the article for book, reading a book.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Notice that in his sentence he has two past continuous verbs. That's fine. That shows that two things, two actions of duration that took time were happening at the same time. Absolutely. We can, as Ramon did earlier, we can show that a continuous action was interrupted by a sudden action, or we can show that two long actions happened parallel. So that's fine. That is the idea, actually. So very good. Good job. Thank you. All right. Let's keep it moving. Our next subordinating, time subordinator, and this one is, we can say, because it's made up of 3 words, it's a phrasal time subordinator. As soon as means, the meaning is immediately after, the second after. Okay, how it looks in a sentence. Here we see the subordinate clause first, and notice there's a comma this time. As soon as Laura had left the house, it started to rain. She left the house, bam! It started to rain. That's the meaning. Okay, let me have Talha. Can you create me a sentence using as soon as?
As soon as lesson had been finished, I went to my home.
Okay. All right. I cleaned it up a little.
Okay.
As soon as, I forgot what you said, but anyway, the lesson had been finished, I went home. Important note, Talha, we use to show, you know, I went to the mall, I went to the airport, I went to Spain, whatever, to show movement from one place to another. Very common. The exception is home. It's an exception in English. You never have to use to show. You never have to use to with home, ever.
Okay.
Under any circumstances. Questions, negatives, any verb tense, whatever.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. As soon as the lesson had been finished, I went home. Now this is interesting. This is great, actually. Notice use of the past perfect. Actually, he's got a past passive, a passive past perfect. Very good. And he actually, as far as the verb tenses go, he used it correctly. I forgot the comma. Oops. Sorry. Subordinate clause first. I should have added a comma there. Very good. So I went home is an action that happened after, pardon me, after the lesson had been finished. So when we talk about two actions in the past and one clearly happened before the other, the one that happened before the other we use past perfect for. So obviously, given the meaning of as soon as, meaning immediately after, you're probably going to use it to talk about two things in the past. Very common to use past perfect with this particular time subordinator. Okay, great job. Good.
Teacher.
Yes.
Please, can you make a sentence using the future tense with as soon as?
I was waiting for. I wasn't going to say it. I was waiting for someone to make a mistake. Actually, no, I can't. Okay. Well, yes, I can. I can. So let me. All right, let me do that, and then I'll talk about it. I can, but not using the the subordinator. Let me explain. Okay, let me write my sentence. Very typical sentence. Okay, here it is. You can see in the VerbaLink chat box. He will be there. Well, I should have said I will be there. I mixed up my subject nouns, but fine. He will be there. I will be there as soon as I finish work. Notice that the main clause or independent clause is in the future tense. However, the subordinate clause using this phrasal subordinator as soon as is in the present tense. Okay. In the most important point that you will learn today, absolutely the most important thing about learning these time clauses is that you cannot ever, never, ever, 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 ever. This is a 100% rule. This is not a suggestion. You can never use any future tense with a time subordinator. So after any of these, before, since, until, when, while, as soon as, any of these subordinators we're looking at today, you cannot ever follow it with a future tense. So if you can use them in sentences that talk about the future, however, you have to use present tense in that clause.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I was kind of sitting on that important point, waiting for somebody to help me introduce it. So thank you. I knew someone would sooner or later. Okay. Yes, Philip.
Yes, can I say as soon as he come, I will leave.
As soon as he comes, yeah, well, he comes, you gotta conjugate the verb, but yeah, as soon as he comes, because he comes is a present tense. As soon as he comes, that's one clause, comma, I will leave. Yeah, your other clause, your independent clause, can be future tense. In that case, whichever subordinator you're using doesn't matter. Other ones can be used in the same way, will be in present tense. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So there you go. The clauses that we're forming today, that we're really concentrating on today, none of them will be future tense. They can be present to talk about the future. They can be present, well, because you're talking about shifts in time, they really won't be talking about present. They can be present tense or they can be past tense. And that's basically it. Okay, let's move on. Before and after now, okay. He left before I could explain anything. We're going to tidy up after everyone is gone. Before and after. Now, an important note here. We just looked at as soon as, and I explained that we frequently use as soon as with past perfect tense. Absolutely. So, when we use before and after, because clearly we're talking about two actions, one before the other, here's the deal. You can use past perfect tense, or you're allowed, shall I say, since it's obvious from the meaning of the words before and after. It's very obvious that one thing happens before the other thing, or one thing happened after the other thing. It's very obvious. We don't really need to use the past perfect tense to show that one thing happened in a time previous to the other time. The words before and after do that for us, so you don't really need to use a past perfect. You can, it's not wrong to do it, but it's not necessary either. As in this sentence, I don't need to say he had left before I could explain anything. Yeah, I could is past simple. It's not necessary. So it's defined within the definition of the word itself. Okay. Frank, you still here? Sure. Frank, can you give me a sentence using before?
I started a succeed business since before I was born.
Okay, I'm a little lost. I felt. Help me out here.
I started.
Okay, so we're gonna say I started.
I started a succeed business.
That would be successful.
I started the most succeed business of the world.
Okay.
Since before I was born.
How could you do that? Okay. Okay. Let's talk about this. Let's fix it. But I typed your sentence as you said it, but I also typed wrong. Not to humiliate you, but I don't want anybody viewing to get the idea that this is correct. I started the most successful business in the world. Okay, that's an independent clause. That's fine in and of itself. But this is not since. And when we use, you can use, okay, since before as a phrasal time subordinator. But when you use since is the dominant subordinator, and you're going to have to use present perfect tense.
I've started.
Yeah. First of all, let me say the content here, Frank, doesn't make sense. You can't start a business before you were born. That doesn't make sense. So I'm not sure what you're trying to say. Okay. Can I get rid of what you're saying here? Get rid of since. I started the most successful business in the world before I was born, which of course, within the laws of the universe that I frequent, is impossible. Are you trying to say something different?
I've started the most successful business in the world since before graduated from school.
Okay, the since before thing, Frank, we got to clear this up. There's since, and then there's before. Okay, the world has been messed up. Okay, has been messed up. I'm using a passive present perfect. I have to use a present perfect tense. Has been messed up from the past until now. Since before I was born. Since before I was born refers to a specific time. And my sentence has to refer to some action that happened in the past that has, when I use since, the before has almost no meaning here. You're just using it to modify since. You're not really doing, what I asked is to make a sentence with before. You're making a sentence with since. Since before is just like since. Since 1992, since before I was born. Same thing. Okay? Before I was born is just a prepositional phrase which actually shows what time it is. You're actually, since before, they're two different things. Since is the subordinator, before I was born is a prepositional phrase. Again, this goes back to the idea that these subordinating conjunctions have different functions. Before can be a time subordinator. Before can also be a preposition. Before 3 o'clock in the morning, okay. It can, I walk, Sally walks before Paul and Paul walks before Bobby. Okay, it's a prepositional phrase.
So can I say that the train had left before we arrived.
Okay. Yes, you can. Okay, and okay, let me type that one. The train had left before we arrived. Okay, you're using past perfect tense to show one action happened before the other. Again, when we use before, we don't really have to. You can just say the train left before we arrived. It's perfectly okay to do that. It's also perfectly okay to do this. The train had left before we arrived. No difference in meaning. Really no difference at all. Okay, we're good. We're going to get to since in a minute, so all right, just hold on to what I said. We'll get there in just a second. Carlos, can you give me a sentence with after?
Okay. I finished it after my boss asked me about the task.
After my boss asked me what?
Me about the task. About the task.
About the task? Is that what you're
Or
saying?
activity.
Your connection is a little shaky. You're a little wobbly there. Okay. I finished it after. Okay. One thing, Carlos. I finished it after my boss asked me about the task. You know, just to make it easier to understand, I would probably change the order of the clauses. After my boss asked me about the task, I finished it. Because you're using here's the reason. You're using the pronoun it. We don't know what it is yet. You can't use a pronoun until you define it. It's very confusing to use it, he, she, and then tell me who it is. I slapped her when Wendy kicked me in the groin. That doesn't make sense. When Wendy kicked me in the groin, I slapped her. Okay, that makes sense. You see what I'm saying? Do you understand? You got to give the noun first before you can give the pronoun.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, but you are using after correctly. Okay, and also Carlos chose to use two past simple tenses because he used after. Don't need that past perfect, so that's just perfectly fine. Okay. Let's move on. Up until. Okay. All right. Means up to a certain time. A little more challenging. Using until or till, I suppose until is a little bit more formal. You should definitely use it in writing rather than till. Till is informal, conversational speech kind of thing. Okay, here's an example. I won't leave until I have finished everything. Okay, notice the verb tenses here. In our independent clause, I won't leave. Obviously, it's the negative future. Okay, until I have finished everything is, notice our time subordinator clause is present perfect. Okay, present perfect. Again, we can't ever use a future tense, even though we're talking about the future. So we can use a present perfect in our subordinate clause. All right, this one's a little tricky, and I'm handing this one off to Heidi. Heidi?
Yes, she was working for a small company. She was working.
Gotcha.
For a small company until 2010, when she opened her own shop.
Ah. Okay. Wait a minute. That's interesting. Okay, let me share it in the VerbLink chat box. Okay, this is interesting. Okay, she was working for a small company, obviously an independent clause, and yes, it's fine. What I'm trying to decide is what is the subordinate clause. Until 2010, I think is a prepositional phrase here. I think when is the time subordinator. She was working till 2010. When she opened her own shop. Should this be she had been working?
Had been working, but like I was walking down, I was walking down on the street when I fell down like that. So working and so past progressive and simple past.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, but no. That idea, Heidi, I think we looked at it earlier. I was walking down the street when I fell down.
Yeah.
Shows an interrupting action. This is one finished action and another action. So in other words, we're closing the action by saying until 2010. I don't know why we have Heidi, we have an echo going on here, which we don't normally. I don't know what you're doing differently today. But yeah, okay. So this one, because we're closing the action, I think until 2010, the action stops. I think we do need to use past perfect continuous. She had been working for a small company, past perfect continuous, until 2010 when she opened her own shop. I think until 2010 here is a prepositional phrase. So I think until is functioning as a preposition. When we use it as a subordinator, going back to the screen share here, notice it introduces an action. Until, subject, noun, verb. When we use it to introduce just a time, then it's just functioning as a prepositional phrase, I think. No, I don't think. I know. With the same meaning, frankly, up to a certain time, but we're actually specifying the time.
Teacher.
Hi, Keiko. Sorry, I haven't been amiss in not welcoming you to the class. Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, teacher. I would like only ask you if until 2010 is inverted. It could be in the starting of the sentence. For example, until 2010, she was working for a small company. Okay?
Okay. Until, well, yeah. Are you meaning by itself, Keiko? Until 2010, she was working for a small company, period.
I think maybe it doesn't work in this way.
It can, but it's a prepositional phrase, and when we do that, okay, well, it's worth looking at. All right, let me show you. Just as one clause. When we do that, we have to. I do that all the time in my class descriptions. In this class, at this time, in today's class, comma, we will be looking at blah 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 blah. You do that all the time. You see it in my class descriptions. So when we do that, we're putting a prepositional phrase of time in the beginning of a sentence. We can separate it from the independent clause by just putting a comma. Okay. Is that what you're asking about? Or am I confused?
Okay, now, maybe could it be until 2010 she was working for a small company, comma, before she opened her own shop.
Okay, I'm just gonna write before she opened her own shop, comma. I'm lazy, so I'm not rewriting the whole thing. Until 2010, she was working for a small company.
But maybe the meaning is not the same as the Heights meaning. Okay.
Well, actually, it's the same meaning as she was trying to say, I believe. Until 2010, she was working for a small company. Before she opened, again, I really think you need the past perfect continuous. Until 2010, obviously a time in the past, she had been working for a small company before she opened her own shop. See, I wouldn't do that. Keiko, you know how I would form this sentence?
But it's not beautiful.
It is not beautiful. It's not a sexy sentence. Here's what I would do to make it okay. I'll write the whole gosh darn thing here. She was. It's not beautiful that she was working for a small company All right, my independent clause before she. Maybe I want to use until. Okay. Since we are supposed to be looking at until up to the time she opened her own shop in 2010. How's that? How's that? There's a sexy sentence. That's what I'm talking about. She was working for a small company until she opened, up to the time she opened her own shop. And now if I want to specify the date, I'll add the prepositional phrase in 2010. Okay? That works so much better. We can do that. Now that's okay. All right. Now I think here, because it's very clear that we've made it very clear that one thing happened before the other, like using before and after, I don't think we need to use past perfect. She had been working for a small company until she opened her own shop in 2010. I think we can do it either way. Frankly, it makes it a little bit, maybe my sentence would be better if I used past perfect continuous. It would be very, very clear that was. But I think we have enough information. We have both the word until and we have a date. So it's quite obvious which happens when. Oops. Oh dear. What happened? Oh no, come on, don't do this to me. Great. Good heavens. Okay. All right. Let's look at if you guys can see since. Shoot, I'm having problems with my PDF has crashed. So let's try to take a look at since here. Since means from particular time in the past until a later time, or really, well, yeah, okay, until a later time, until now, actually, possibly into the future from now. Okay, so the example sentence, I haven't played rugby since I left university. Okay, since the time I played, since the time I left university up until now is the idea. If you use since, basically you are stuck. You almost have to use, you do have to use a present perfect tense in your independent clause. Notice the use of a time subordinator and a time subordinator clause or dependent clause frequently will dictate or force the verb tense in the independent clause. That happens a lot, especially here with since, for example. But keep in mind that since has another meaning. We can use it like because. So this is a little, since can be confusing. So since can have a time meaning, all right, here from a time in the past until now, or it can be used as because, all right. Since he is late, we will start the meeting without him. In this case, what I really mean, I'm using since to mean because. I am using it as a subordinator, but no longer a time subordinator. I'm using it for, you know, cause and effect, cause and result. It's used like because, so that's different. So, you know, you got to be careful in that case. If you're using it to mean because, since I will be late, start the meeting without me. Okay, there I am using since with will, future tense. All right, so you've got to be a little careful understanding of how do you mean since. Because if you mean because, you can use because in a future with a future tense, no problem. All right, let's let me give okay, Beatrice, can you give this a try? With since, make me a sentence. Make it purty.
Okay, teacher. But I cannot see the screen. It's
Yeah.
black.
Yes, I'm going to have to crash my computer. Actually, I have a there's some kind of bug or something
Okay.
in my PDF.
Okay.
I have no choice but to crash the class. But you can stay in the class. It'll take me 3 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes to reboot. And I guess I'm going to have to do that in order to continue the lesson. Before I do that, you want to give me a sentence with since?
Yes, sure. Since. Since or since, teacher?
Since.
Since I started to work, I didn't see my sister.
Okay. Since I started to work. Okay, now, what did I say? When we use since, it dictates we need to use present perfect tense. Since I started to work, I didn't see my sister is simple. It's the negative simple present tense. It won't work. Can't do it, Beatrice. Not
Okay.
So it would have to be I haven't. Okay?
Okay.
I haven't, negative with have. I haven't seen my sister. Present perfect tense, of course, is formed by using have or has and the past participle. So that would work. Since I started to work, I haven't seen my sister. That would make perfect sense. All right?
Okay, right, teacher. Thank you.
Okay, no, thank you. Okay. Oh gosh. Okay. Oh, wait, maybe I'll.
Teacher.
Let's see.
Oh.
What's going on?
I think teacher Oakley is reporting his computer. Let's take about 3 minutes only. By the way, Kako, I think her sentence is since she was a victim. I'm not sure about this. Yeah, I think mine is correct. Your sentence is not correct. Got it. Since she was a doctor, she was. Hmm. You can say since now is like because she was a doctor, she helps the patients. You can say that, but now it's not like uh, since like because now you try to say that. Since she's a doctor. Yeah, it's okay.
And the class is still 5 minutes left.
What did you say, Tom?
The class is only
Yeah.
5 minutes left.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm not sure if he will be able to continue this class.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
will he be back?
I'm not sure really. Yeah, he can. He can.
Yeah.
Welcome to class.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Good to have you in class.
Technology is great. Yeah. Hello. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mustafa, you had a question. Do you remember it?
Yeah. My question. I don't remember really. I forgot it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But yeah, but sorry, teacher. Just Kako made a sentence, and I think his sentence is wrong. I correct it, but I don't know. Just I wanna repeat it right now.
Since she is a doctor, she can help the patient. No, it is correct, but he's using because she is a doctor, she can help the patient. Right? That makes sense to you, right? Right? Because she is a doctor.
Just as because.
As because. So you got to be careful with the old since there, because since it has two meanings. You have to be careful with it. Okay. Beatrice, did you you wanted to try to form a sentence with since as because? You can if you want to.
Oh, sorry, teacher. I don't understand what. Can you repeat?
Never mind. I thought I saw a message from you that you would like to form a sentence.
Okay.
But never mind. Okay. Okay. Keiko, what is your question?
I tried to use since with the meaning of because, teacher. Since she is a doctor, she can help the patient. Is it correct?
Yeah, that was correct. Totally.
Okay.
Absolutely. As is Mustafa's example in the Verbling chat box. She has helped the patients since she started working as a doctor. She has helped patients. You don't need the there, because you don't know which specific patients she was helping. So you mean patients in general. But otherwise your sentence is correct. All right? She has helped patients in general. We don't know which ones, so we don't need the. Okay. Well, okay.
Thank you.
apparently I could break this class into 2 classes at least because, you know, but we got the basics done that I wanted to get done, but unfortunately we're out of time. So sorry about my little technical stumble. I'll throw my computer out the window later after today's Verblin classes. But I have to go. I hope you can join me. Next class, we're going to look at, again, look at some time clauses and other time phrases specifically geared to thinking about using them in the workplace or in business. So, you know, more on time phrases coming right up. Hopefully you guys can join me. So I'll be right back in a couple minutes in another class. Thanks a lot. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, teacher.